Shabbat Shalom.
Someone has left their lights on in the parking lot.
All right, so there's a maroon Lexus with their lights on in the parking lot. Anybody drive a maroon Lexus? Oh, maybe. Maroon Lexus with their lights on in the parking lot. Oh. All right, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I am not Rabbi Boxed. He is with his children at Camp Coleman, north of Atlanta. And Camp Coleman is a wonderful experience. Has anybody been there? You have?
I was there on a leadership institute,
Yeah, Camp Coleman is this wonderful campus about an hour and a half northeast of Atlanta. Yeah, it's right near Gainesville, Georgia. And I have 3 sons who grew up here in Ocala, and we insisted that they go to a Jewish experience over the summer. And it really helps mold their Jewish identity, really in a big way. And it's not, ultra-religious. It's just the cultural, some Hebrew in there. All the other kids are Jewish. I mean, it's just a really great experience. And what happened to my thing? It flickered. Anyway, the rabbi went to Camp Coleman as a camper as well, and he feels it's such an important thing that he participates now as a rabbi, helping extend that experience to others. So I guess that's his simcha of the week, that he's going to Camp Coleman. Whenever I come to Temple Beth Shalom, I always consider all of you to be my extended Jewish family. And when family gets together, they always kvel a little. So, who wants to share anything good that happened this week with our Jewish family? Nothing good happened. Robert. 18. Chai, mazel tov. Very nice. Now, when I turned 18, that meant you can go to the bar and drink. That's not the way anymore, though, is it? 21. You can vote. Excellent. Anybody else? Shabbat Shalom. Yes?
This week, my beloved wife Andrea returned to work and worked 3 days in a row after having had COVID since the last dance. Remember the dance?
Yeah, the dance. The COVID dance.
And we're wearing masks tonight as per.
Well, we're happy that you're feeling better. Absolutely. So, one more.
Yes, Howard and I have finally met in person after talking on the phone for over 5 months. And we met on classmates because we graduated high school together and didn't know each other. And also lived around the corner from each other and didn't know each other. So where was that? MacArthur High School in Levittown, Long Island.
Mazel tov. Congratulations. So let's begin our service on page 3. I'll ask Joan Brand to come and light the candles. Turn to page 3. Joan, you can say either one of these 2 you'd like, and then we'll do the blessing. And I'll be the holder of the microphone. All right. Success.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Shabbat. O source of light and truth, creator of the eternal law of goodness, help us to find knowledge by which to live. Lead us to take the words we shall speak into our hearts and our lives. Bless all who enter this sanctuary in need, all who bring the offerings of their hearts. May our worship lead us to acts of kindness, peace, and love. Amen.
Amen. So, when we come to the synagogue for Shabbat, we try to shed the weekly mundane away from us. So I'd like to help everybody do that a little bit. When we close our eyes, everybody, take a big deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, and feel the stress of the week leave, because we're about to enter Shabbat. In through your nose, out with your mouth, and pretend like we're walking down a hallway. In with your nose, out with your mouth. And as we get closer to the end of the hallway, there's a door at the end. In with your nose, out with your mouth. We open the door and bright, brilliant yellow light comes through from the sun, and green grass and blue skies, and we walk through and we've entered Shabbat. Everybody open their eyes? And let's go to page 6 as we welcome Shabbat in the Kabbalat Shabbat service. Read with me responsively on the top, sentence by sentence. We entered this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Keep going, not the end of the sentence. Right, remember, sentences end in periods, right? In the presence, its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. May we enter this place in peace. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts. Oh, wait, yeah, I forgot. The harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. We now continue on page 12. The typical Kabbalat Shabbat service starts with a series of psalms. There are 6 psalms representing the 6 days of creation, and then the 7th thing is Lecha Dodi. Because, remember, each day of the creation is paired with another day. The first day, let there be light. The 4th day, the lights in the heavens, the stars, and etc. The 2nd day, the waters gather up. They separate the waters from the top below. The 5th day, the animals from the waters, the fish, etc. The 3rd day, the dry land appears. The 6th day, the animals on the land. And the 7th day is unmatched, unpaired. Lecha Dodi matches the 7th day as the Sabbath bride with the Jewish people as the groom. So that's the symbolism behind it. But let's go to page 12. Lechu niranena, naria letzor yeshenu, nekadma panav betoda, bezimra naria lo. Come, let us sing joyously to Adonai. Raise a shout for our rock and deliverer. Let us come into God's presence with praise. Let us raise a shout for God in song. For Adonai is a great God, the great ruler of all beings. You can see the theme of this, right? God is great. A lot of these psalms, our rabbis who put the service together liked it so much that they made songs out of some of them. Like the end on page 13, right? This is all one psalm. See the bottom of page 13, the paragraph is set off separately. Anyone recognize the song? I'll start you off and you join in with me. Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, Yismechu hashamayim, v'tagel haaretz. Yiram hayam, Hiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Umelo, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Yiram hayam, Umelo. So a lot of these psalms, if you look through, I'll only do one today, we won't keep going. But if you look, you'll recognize songs at the end of each psalm, because as we would read them, we would sing the song at the end. But let's jump to the 7th day, page 20 and 21. With Lecha Dodi, we'll do, as usual, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. We get to the 9th verse, please stand up. There's two options of welcoming Shabbat. One is through the door, where we all come through. The other is in the west, where the sun sets and where Shabbat enters. This was written in Safat in the 1600s, and they used to go out into the field to welcome Shabbat. So they always faced west. So you have an option. You can face the door, face west when we get to the verse 9. Page 20. Lecha Dodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nikabela Lecha Dodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nikabela Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad Hishmianu el hamiyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad L'shem u'tiferet v'lit hilaha Lecha Dodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nikabela. Verse 2. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha ki hi mikor habracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchilah lecha Dodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nikabela. Verse 5. Hitoriri, hitoriri, ki va'orech kumi uri, uri, shir daberi, kivod Adonai alayach nigla lecha Dodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nikabela. Please rise. Boi v'shalom ateret bala gam b'simcha u'v'tzahala toch emunei am segula boi chala boi chala lecha Dodi likrat kala Penei Shabbat nikabela. Please be seated. So when it comes to music in the synagogue, I like to think of two different ways to approach music, right? One is music to listen to, and the other is music to sing along to. I'm not a cantorial soloist. Some other people might be. So I'd like everybody to sing along with me. Can we do that? All right, let's try. So the next one happens to be a song as well. Let's go to page 24, and we'll do Shalom Aleichem. And we'll do a familiar melody so everybody can sing along. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei HaSharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei Hamlach, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitechem L'Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We continue with the Chatzi Kaddish on page 26. Yitgadal v'yitgada shemei Rabbah, B'yalma divarach yirutei, B'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon uv'yomechon, Uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, Bagala, Bagala, Uvizman Kariv, V'Imaru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevarach, Li'olam u'la'omei omaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnasei, V'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, Shemei d'kudusha barichu, Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, Tushbechata v'nechemata, Damiram be'oma, V'yimaru, Amen. So the Chatzi Kaddish and all the Kaddishes, even Mourner's Kaddish, have nothing to do with death or dying. It's actually praising and lauding God. And we use it as a separator in the different parts of the service. So we've concluded the welcoming of Shabbat with L'cha Dodi, and we come to enter the prayer part of our service. And I found an interesting little poem, a little paragraph that I wanted to read to you. It's written by a conservative rabbi, Reuven Hammer, who was American and Israeli and had a lot to do with the formation of the American conservative movement. He says, prayer is a way of sensitizing ourselves to the wonder of life, of expressing gratitude and of praising and acknowledging the reality of God. One need not believe that God will interfere with the ongoing process of nature to feel that prayer is worthwhile, right? We pray, we don't necessarily expect God to change anything, right? We may have different understandings of what God is. No definition we have is sufficient to answer all doubts and all questions. To be aware that God exists, that there is more to the universe than physical matter, that a moral order is inherent in creation, that humans are responsible for their conduct and can help to bring about perfection, or at least the improvement of the world and life, that is a sufficient reason enough for prayer. So as we go, we will do the call to worship on page 28. Please rise for the Baruch Hu, the official call to worship. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed. Please be seated. We continue on page 30. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bivaro ma'ariv aravim, bechachma poteach she'arim uvitvuna meshane itim, umachalif et hazmanim, umesader et hakochavim, b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono. Continue with me on the bottom of page 31, responsively, sentence by sentence. This is an hour of change. Shall we draw back or cross over? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? What lies before us? Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. This is a little confusing to me, right? Should we cross over? Well, we're at a time of change. All we have to do is wait, and it becomes night. It's kind of a little, but you can use it as a metaphor for other things in life. Should you cross over? Should you stay on one side? When it comes to Shabbat, we don't have a choice. It becomes Shabbat with us doing something or without us doing something. Let's continue. We turn to page 34. Please rise for the Shema Yisrael. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Please be seated and join with me on page 36 with the Vahavta. In general, I don't usually do something in Hebrew and in English. This is my one exception because I think this is important for us to understand. The Hebrew's nice because it has a nice rhythm to it, but I think we need to understand the words as well. So please do with me in Hebrew if you can, and then the English, which I hope we can all read. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alevavecha vishinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha b'derech uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beineinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkaru ba'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'item kedoshim lelohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim ani Adonai Elohechem Adonai Elohechem emet. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions which I charge you this day. Impress upon them upon your children. Recite them when you stay at home and when you are away, when you lie down and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand, and let them serve as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Thus shall you remember to observe all my commandments and to be holy to your God. I am Adonai your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Adonai your God. We continue on page 40. We'll sing Micha Mocha. Micha Mocha ba'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha nedar bar kodesh, Norah tehilot osefele, Norah tehilot osefele. Malachutecha ra'u vanecha, Bokea yam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Ze Elianu ve'amru, Ze Elianu ve'amru. Adonai yimlo leolam vaed. Adonai yimlo leolam vaed. V'ne'emar kivad Adonai et Yaakov, Ugalo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch ata Adonai, Gal Yisrael. So you see the last line of that, Baruch ata Adonai. Almost every blessing or every prayer, whether it begins with Baruch ata Adonai, it'll end with Baruch ata Adonai. Call it the seal, right? Blessed are you, Adonai, who redeemed Israel. And this is the only seal in all the blessings that's written in the past tense. Ga'al Yisrael, who redeemed Israel. If you go back a page or two, let's see. Before the Shema, let's say, we did the Ma'ariv Aravim. Baruch atah Adonai ha-Ma'ariv Aravim, who brings on the evening. It's always in the present tense, but here it's in the past tense. Why? Because we always want to think that hope springs eternal, right? If God redeemed us, he should keep redeeming us. The rabbis who wrote the prayers was a little kind of a jab. Don't forget, for 2,000 years we prayed that we would be able to return to our homeland. Now we can, but for generations and generations we couldn't. And it was a jab at God saying, you redeemed us from Egypt, but you won't redeem us out of the diaspora. Maybe they should change it now, but they won't. Let's keep going. Page 44. There are two songs about Shabbat. We could sing either one. Which one should we sing? This is the democratic part of the service. Who thinks we should sing Vishamru and who thinks we should sing Yismachu? Who thinks we should sing Vishamru? And who thinks we should sing Yismachu? Ooh, it's pretty close. Can we do both? Let's do both. Because, what's that? Okay. Sure. Let's do a hold on the Vishamra. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti leolam, oti leolam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz ve'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash, shavat vayinafash. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat lasot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berito. Now, I really like that. That was joyful. That was fun. Shabbat's supposed to be joyful and fun, right? The Shabbat that our parents and grandparents stirred, we don't want that. We want, in fact, we do an oneg Shabbat. That's the joy of Shabbat afterwards. So let's keep the joy going. No secret ballots. No. The joy of Shabbat. So should we do Yismachu also? We'll do the sing-along one. Ready? Yismechu v'malechutecha shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Mikadeshei, Mikadeshei Shvi Shabbat. Kulam Yisbeu V'yatangu mituvecha Shabbat. Yismechu V'malechutecha. Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malechutecha. Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, oneg Shabbat. V'hashvi ratzita bo v'kidashto Shabbat. Chemdat Yahamim Oto Karata Shabbat. Yismechu V'malechutecha. Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, oneg Shabbat. Yismechu V'malechutecha. Shomrei, 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 Shabbat v'korei, oneg Shabbat, zecher lema'aseh v'reishit. So you guys are watching all the pictures of Israel, right? Has anybody been to any of these places? Lots of them, right? Jerusalem, heading down towards the Kotel. What's the next one? Jerusalem, and the Temple Mount. So let's continue on page 46, where we actually get to the prayer part of our service, the tefillah. Please rise, and we'll continue in Hebrew until we get to page 52. Adonai, open up my... Whoops, wait, sorry. I did it wrong. Adonai, sifatai tiftach, ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor V'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei HaKol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'imaot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Atarav Lehoshia, Morid Hatal, Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim V'Rofei Cholim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishenei Afar, Micha Mocha Ba'al Givurot, Umido Melach, Melech Memit, Umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, B'ne'eman atah lachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol, Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, Ukadoshim b'chol yom yahalalu chasela, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. We'll turn to page 56. Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu Be'amecha Yisrael Utefilatam Be'ahava Tikabel Utehiliratzon Tamid Avodat Yisrael Yisrael Amecha El Karov Lechol Korav Penei Elav Adecha V'chonenu Shefoch Ruchacha Aleinu, the bottom of the page. V'techezena einenu b'shuvecha letzion. Berachamim. Baruch atah Adonai. Hamachazir Shechinato Lehetzion. So that was the seal at the bottom, right? The Baruch Atah. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose presence returns to Zion. And when we can, and make a congregational trip to Israel, I encourage you all to go, especially those who have never been. It's a beautiful country with a beautiful heritage, and it's our heritage. We must celebrate it. We turn to page 59. Please read responsively on the top. There's not really any sentences here, so we'll just go line by line this time. God of goodness, we give thanks for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lahodaot. Continue on page 60. So Shalom Rav, I was always taught, the common melody that we usually do, that it should be kind of a response back and forth. So we did the hold for Vishamru, right? Let's do this. Let me do the first line, and you guys do the second line, the same line over again, and then I'll do the second line, you guys do the second line, kind of as a round back and forth. Let's try it out. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasihim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Now all together. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasihim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasihim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael. B'chol eit u'v'chol sha'a b'shlomecha. Together. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasihim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasihim Leolam. Tasihim Leolam. Tasihim Leolam. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Yisrael, b'shalom. So our daily prayers always end with a prayer for peace, something that is inherent in the Jewish psyche. So we've concluded the structured part of our service, and now we get a chance to say whatever we want, however we want. So let us take a moment of silence and give your own prayers. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru imru amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru imru amen. Yahaseh shalom, Yahaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yahaseh shalom, Yahaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yahaseh shalom, Yahaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yahaseh shalom, Yahaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Another prayer for peace after our silent prayer. At this point, our hearts turn to those who need a prayer for healing. And I ask you to turn to page 253. And I will put what I hope is the Mishaberach list up. And let's sing on page 253 the melody that Debbie Friedman made famous in the middle of page 253. Mi sheberach avotenu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. I forgot to ask if anybody had any additional names other than the list, so let's go around.
Kermit and Gertrude Walton, Susan Brodsky, Ned Deering.
First, Stephen Strauss, Gabe, Jackie, should we sing it again? Nah, I think we can do it, right? Yes, sir. Thank you. we usually give a sermon about the Torah portion. There's a whole separate part of the Bible, of the Tanakh, that we don't usually delve into. Our Christian friends and neighbors know this well, right? All the books of the prophets, etc. And in the books of Samuel and Kings is the story of King David. And since I'm going to do services tonight and also next week, I wanted to introduce you to one of what I think is one of the most fascinating characters in the Bible. And the Bible is literature, really, more than, well, maybe as religious doctrine as well with the story of King David. Anyone who has been to Florence, Italy, has seen the Duomo. The Duomo is the main Catholic cathedral. When Michelangelo was commissioned to sculpt one of what was supposed to be 12 biblical characters, which would be stationed 250 feet above street level, the choice he made for the first sculpture, and what turned out to be the only sculpture, was that of King David. We can get into all the anatomical inaccuracies. I am, after all, a urologist. Jewish men should be circumcised, etc. But like his European features, especially the Italian nose, etc., the Florentines wanted to capture King David as the ideal of the Renaissance. The story of King David is usually one that Jews know very little of. Yes, he slew Goliath, the giant, and he became king. But the story is not in the Torah, but in the books, as I said, of Samuel and Kings and the prophets, the second part of the Jewish Bible, the Tanakh. We don't know these stories as well as the Torah stories, so I wanted to introduce you to King David. Or maybe we should say David, the son of Jesse, because that's how he was known before he was king. After the exodus from Egypt and the conquest of the land by Joshua, the 12 tribes lived in peace, but asked for a king from God. They said, we need a king to lead us like the other nations around us. God and the prophet Samuel didn't like this, but they did it anyway. And they crowned King Saul, the guy on the left, a fierce warrior. But Saul did not follow the precepts of God in Judaism. And so God commanded Samuel the prophet to inform Saul that because of what he did, the kingship would be taken from him and given to somebody else. Saul didn't like this at all. Not at all. And the prophet Samuel was instructed to go to Jesse, one of the Bethlehemites, and pick one of his sons as the new king. And that's the scene on the right. Samuel the prophet, who picks the youngest, the scrawniest of Jesse's children, Jesse's sons, to be the king. And in directing Samuel to anoint David, God said, "For not as a man does Adonai see people, but Adonai sees into the heart." So he wasn't the biggest or the strongest. Like I said, he was the youngest and what's called the ruddiest of Jesse's sons. He pours oil on his head and officially makes him king, but nobody knows it and nobody wants to recognize it, right? Because Saul is still the king. So David's kind of the secret king. But somehow, King Saul, again, didn't like this whole, the kingship's going to be taken from me. He was very uneasy, and he didn't sleep well. And one of his courtiers said, "There's a young boy, one of Jesse's sons, who plays the harp. His name is David. Bring him to the king's castle and have him play music for you." So in this twist of irony, David, who's been secretly anointed king, comes to the king's castle to play the harp for King Saul, for whom the kingship has been stripped away. Like I said, crazy, literary things. The next thing that happens is the famous story, right? King Saul goes to battle the Philistines, and the giant Goliath taunts them, "I'll kill anybody who comes up." And of course, David comes, and he says he'll do it. And he takes his sling, not a slingshot, but a sling, and puts a rock in it and bops him on the head, and he falls down. Now, something interesting happens at that point, because Goliath has been bopped in the head and falls down, and David has to come and finish the job. So he takes Goliath's sword and he decapitates him, proving to everybody. And the Philistines go running. The story of the sword is an interesting one. It shows up one more time in the Bible. And I've always thought that I wanted to write like a Raiders of the Lost Ark thing, instead of the cup or the ark, what happened to Goliath's sword? It must have some secret powers. Well, after this happens, David is very popular with the people. He defeated the Philistines. And Saul doesn't know that he's been secretly crowned, anointed king. So he makes David an officer in his army. And he would go out on campaigns and be very successful. And Saul didn't like this at all. So he decided that he would give his youngest daughter, Michal, to David to become part of the family. So David marries his first wife, Michal. And he keeps going out into battle, and he's more and more successful. And actually, there's a whole plot where King Saul tries to kill David. And David has to go into hiding. And he and several hundred men go hide out in the Judean hills. And Saul goes after him with 3,000 men, right? David is hiding with 200 or 300 men. 3,000 men. They go to Ein Gedi, right? Rachel, where's Ein Gedi? Don't remember. It's near the Dead Sea. It's in the desert. And they hide in the cave, and Saul has to go into the cave to relieve himself. And it's dark in the cave, so he can't see anything. And the story that's told is that King Saul, the one holding the sword, can't see because he came in from the bright light outside, and David's eyes are adjusted to it. He cuts the corner of Saul's cloak and lets him go, because he says it's not right that I take the life of God's anointed king. Well, Saul leaves after relieving himself, and they go a distance away. And David comes out of the cave on the right, and he says, "Please, sir, take a look at the corner of your cloak in my hand, for when I cut the corner of your cloak, I did not kill you. You must plainly see that I have done no evil or anything rebellious and have never wronged you. But yet you are bent on taking my life." He screams this across the chasm. And even though David was told he would be king, and it appeared to God that Saul was delivered into David's hands, he said no. In another episode, David again sneaks into the camp of Saul, right? He still doesn't give up. He goes out to get him. And Saul and his soldiers are sleeping, and David comes in and says, "I can't kill him," but he takes his spear and puts it into the ground right next to Saul's head. And Saul sees that David was there, and he finally gives up. He gives up, but David doesn't know he gives up. So in order to escape the king, David and his men went to join the Philistines. Think about this. David kills Goliath, who is attacking the Judeans. But to escape the king who's out to kill him, he and his men join the Philistines. Now, the Philistines are warring against the Judeans. He actually joins the enemy. Joins the enemy. How terrible is that? He thinks he's king, but he has to join the enemy. And there comes a time when the Philistines go to attack Saul's troops directly, and the Philistines tell David and his men, "You can't come with us, we can't trust you, because you're a Judean." They're despondent, they're distraught. They don't know exactly what to do, but they stay out of the battle. And in this battle, Saul and his army is defeated. And instead of being killed by one of the Philistines, Saul falls on his sword, which is where the expression comes from. Committed suicide instead of letting the Philistines do it. How righteous was David, right? He always wanted to do the right thing. As you know, he becomes king. And in next week's sermon, I'll show you that even though he always wants to do the right thing, he doesn't always do it. He's a very flawed person, but so are we all. And that's why I think Michelangelo wanted David to represent the ideals of the Renaissance. But, like I said, second part of King David's story, next week. I don't want to bore you too much with all of it at once. Would you like to do announcements? Do it now, and then we'll conclude in a minute. You want this?
Not really, but. You got it. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. First, I'd like to thank Dr. Rabbi Dr. Harvey Town for leading services for us tonight. We are still working on the yearbook. If you would like to take out an ad, please call Julie. You have jewels, dividends, your grandchildren, memorials. They're $8 a name. Again, call Julie. If you are willing to take pictures for the yearbook, please contact Julie or Emily. Adult education begins again this coming Tuesday, August 6th. Our next movie night is Saturday, August 10th at 7 p.m. in the FCC Sanctuary, and the movie is The Sting. The event is free. Please come. TBS needs help. We need help with live streaming. Please contact Mark Rockland. Need help with security? Contact my husband, Daryl Etheridge. And we need help with setup and cleanup of the Oneg Shabbats. Call Barbara Adler. Bema flowers today are sponsored by Susan and Michael Ahern in honor of Larry Singer's 90th birthday. Naomi Berman in honor of Andrea and Kevin's Chai 18th birthday anniversary. Steve Johnson in honor of Deborah's 67th birthday.
So now we come to the concluding parts of our service. We always conclude with Aleinu and then Mortar's Kaddish, tradition. Let's turn to page 282, and Gabe, can he come up to the front? Come on up to the front. We have one child to open. Oh, he's playing a game. It's okay if he doesn't want to. Come on and open. Come on up. You get to open the ark. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latet gedula liotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kigoye haratzot, velo samanu kemishbechot hadama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vigor aleinu kechol hamonam, Vanachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. Continue top of page 284. Shehu note shamayim v'yosed haaretz umoshav yikaro bashamayim mimal uschinatu zo Bigav he meromim hu Eloheinu enod emet malkeinu efezulato kakatuv bitorato viadata hayom vahashevo ta elevavecha ki Adonai hu ha Elohim Bashamayim mimal ve'al haaretz mitachat einod. Continue on page 287. Ve'nemar ve'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz. Bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. Can close the ark. Please be seated. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, of life and death. This week, we remember Jack Carlin, friend of the congregation, Ada Hinda Alpern, sister of Elka Maliver, Harry Jarofsky, father of Rochelle Jarofsky, Rabbi Morrison David Beal, former rabbi of the congregation, Ina Colin, the mother of Kenneth Colin, David Flexner, the grandfather of Kay Fleischiger, Olga Madorny Cleveland, the mother of Deborah Johnson, Dorothy Goodman, friend of the congregation, Marion Reaney, friend of the congregation, Miles Peters, father of Christine Swit, Hyman Kalb, father of Barbara Kaplan, and we remember the Shiva of Leah Harris, Lekach family friend. Are there any other names that we should mention this Shabbat for our Yahrzeit? Then all who wish may rise as we recite Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, bi'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv v'yamru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mavarach le'olam u'almei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudisha barichu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata. Da'amiran b'alma v'yamru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yamru amen. Oseh shalom ramav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Please be seated. And we conclude with a concluding song because it's at the conclusion, right? We'll turn to page 321 and sing Adon Olam. Now there's about a dozen, maybe more different melodies. Anyone want one melody in particular? What's that? My choice. Okay. Let's do a fun one. Ready? Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Le'et Nasa, B'chefso Kol. Azai melech shemo nikra Adon Olam, v'yacharei kichlot hakol, livado yimloch nora Adon Olam, v'hu haya, v'hu hoveh, v'hu yiyeh b'tifara Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol, Yitzir Nivra, Li'et Nasa, B'chefso Kol. Hazai melech shemo nikra Adon Olam, v'hu echad v'yein sheni, lahamshilo lahachbira adon olam, b'li reshit, b'li tachlit, v'lo ha'oz v'hamisra adon olam, asher malach, b'terem kol, yitzir nivra, li'et nasa, b'chev sokol. Azai melech shemo nikra adon olam, v'hu eli, v'chai goali, v'tzor chevli be'et zara adon olam, v'hu nisi, umanos li, minat kosi b'yom ekra adon olam, asher malach, b'terem kol, yitzir nivra, li'et nasa, b'chev sokol. Azai melech shemo nikra adon olam, biyado afkid ruchi, b'yeti shan ve'a'ira adon olam, ve'im ruchi geviati, adon ali v'lo ira adon. Last chance, adon olam, asher malach, b'terem kol, yitzir nivra, li'et nasa, b'chev sokol. Azai melech shemo nikra adon olam. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We'll convene in the social hall, and Herb Katz will lead us in the Kiddush. Shabbat Shalom. Ooh. Don't want to push that by accident.